Man, that was a good show today. But guess what? We're still here. For those brave enough to hang around, man, are you in for a treat? Welcome to the Gun Talk After Show. This is where we exhale and loosen up a little bit and maybe handle some of the issues that were either too strong for the radio or maybe that we just didn't have time for. So let's get Tom back in here along with show producer Jim Kinsey, Michael, and Michelle. Now, the Gun Talk After Show. Take it away, guys.
All right, we've entered this weird place we call the after show. Tom is here. Michael, you here?
Yeah.
And calling roll, Michelle.
I'm here.
And what's his name? Jim is over in the corner pouting again.
Yeah, they tried to lock me out, but I have the keys.
You have the keys. That's amazing. They just can't get away with that, can they?
Yeah. Appreciate the effort, though.
Yeah.
That's right. Exactly right. So you guys have a good week? You went out and shot all the ammo you have? No.
Most of it. Shot a lot this week.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you shoot?
I shot a lot of, you're going to hate me, 22. I actually have 22.
Not anymore.
I have less 22, yeah. Yeah, went out and shot the Little Smith Compact 22.
Oh, that's right.
Cool?
We arranged for that. How'd you like that gun?
We all loved it. It's great.
The Smith & Wesson M&P 22, the little compact version.
It's a awesome training gun for youth as well as elderly or anybody who just doesn't have a lot of upper body strength for chambering.
So how old is your daughter?
She's 11.
And she shot it?
She shot it pretty well. Yeah, it started to rain, so we didn't get a ton of time, but we got a couple hundred rounds off total.
All right, good deal.
Yeah, it's a great gun.
22s are so much fun. I learned a lot about 22s with our guest today talking about those.
I didn't realize that there were suppliers from Europe that have high end. You know, if it's $10 more to get good ammo, why not?
Yeah, Ely has always been, Ely and 10X and Lapua are the three big names. Mm-hmm. And pretty much if you're shooting competition, that you don't shoot anything else. You wouldn't even think about shooting anything else.
Oh, no Blazer, huh, in competition?
No, negatory. Although, what do you say, Velociraptor? Or no, Velocitor.
Yeah, Velociraptor. Right.
That's good for shooting Velociraptors.
Out of my gun. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Have some cold-blooded fury.
That's right. It makes that weird screaming sound when it comes out, like a velociraptor. Okay. Here's the question. How does anybody know what a velociraptor actually sounds like when they do it for the movies?
Good point.
They did do some studies on where the vocal cords might have been, but since it's cartilage usually.
Michael, it was a rhetorical question.
I study cop.
Goodness gracious.
He's a technician. What do you expect?
That's right. I want to talk to Robert about some ammo out there. Elk hunting cartridges. Line 3. Hey, Robert.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. So you guys have shot, you say, 7 mag and 300 mag?
Yeah, yes, sir. I used to shoot the F class in competition, shooting long range. And
okay.
I was shooting the 300 Win mag, and nearly all the guys that I shot with were shooting the 7mm mag. Mm-hmm. First off, I want to say both guns, would do the job, perform flawlessly downrange. The only real difference that we would see would be like I'm spying for my partner with the 7mm mag, and at 600 to 800 yards, every once in a while I'd see a wisp of a trace. Mm-hmm. And he's always calling me in like perfect, and I wonder what the heck's going on, and I get behind the scope and let him shoot my gun. And the 300 Win mag, in comparison, looks like a football flying down range.
You can actually see it in the spotting scope. You can see the bullet going down range. Is there the trace of it?
You can see the trace, the vapor trail down range. Because it's a big bullet, I'm shooting a 190 grain Sierra Match King. It was a lot easier to call the shots in. But that being said, at ethical hunting ranges, I agree with you 100%. Why put yourself through the abuse of a big Magnum rifle unless it's just what you want?
But a lot of people have been convinced, Robert, that elk, a regular 270 would just bounce off a big bull elk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I always say you can only get things just so dead.
I like that. You can't make them any deader.
We're stealing that line.
Yeah, that's right. That's great. Robert, how much difference did you find there was between the recoil of a 7 mag and a 300 mag?
There was a pretty good difference, but I was shooting a heavy barrel tactical rifle. Honestly, I'm a fairly large individual, pretty muscular, and I never had a problem with the recoil. I'd shoot on range days, we'd go through 100 rounds easy, and it never really bothered me. But a sporter weight rifle, that'd probably be a whole different story.
Yeah.
I would say if you don't want to use, if you don't want to put something on there to take care of recoil for you, just get a big gun.
Either
take
get
care of the extra weight if
that's
you want
right.
the extra gun.
But if you got to walk up and down mountains and you're going to try to go with a lightweight rifle, that's when you start dialing back. And it's interesting. The 7 mag becomes kind of the lightweight or low recoil version of Magnums, doesn't it?
Yes, sir, and it will take care of business. Like I said, I'm 300 Win Mag fan, but I'm not going to lie on them. That 7 millimeter Magnum did it all the way out to 1,000 all day long and did it very well, which is way beyond what you should be shooting at any K-Mac.
Yeah, you really don't need to be shooting at critters that long. I mean, I know there are people who do it, but I just got to say, from my standpoint, from what I believe, that's just not ethical. In a competition situation where you're all set up, you're on a bench or whatever the situation is, and you can call the wind, and a miss is just a miss, that's not a problem. But when you're shooting at a living, breathing thing, I think you have an ethic there. You owe it to the critter to only take a shot when you are 100% sure you're going to be able to make the shot. If you're not that 100% sure, then you don't pull the trigger. And that's how I've always approached it. Hey, Robert, thank you for your call. I appreciate that. Lots of good information there. Any of you guys shot 7 mags or 300 mags?
Well, nodding no.
Crickets.
I'm not very cultured, no.
Okay. as we're talking, I'm thinking, let's see. 7 mag. My first centerfire rifle was a 7 millimeter Magnum, believe it or not.
Wow.
Shot a lot of deer with it. Shot elk with it. That's probably about it. 300 mags, I've shot elk, deer, desert. No, that was a 338 I shot the Desert Bighorn with. Made some long shots on, for me, long shots. See, for me, a long shot's 350 yards. For competitive shooters, that's not a long way. But boy, when you're shooting at a critter, that's a 3.5 football fields is a pretty long way.
You got a responsibility there too, like you said. You don't take a shot unless you know you're going to hit.
Yeah, we were sitting there and we were talking. I'm thinking, let's see. I've shot big game mounds with 6 millimeter Remington, 257, 243, or 270 Weatherby Magnum. 7 millimeter Remington Magnum, 300 Weatherby, 30-06, 308, 300 Winchester Magnum, 338 Win Mag, 375 H&H, 416 Remington Magnum, and probably some others in there.
All the same animal.
Yeah, but you know, some critters just take more killing than others do. So what's our new line?
Dead is dead.
You only kill it so dead.
You only kill it so dead. I like that one. You know, people say, well, isn't that overkill? I said, I have no idea what that means. I don't think you could overkill anything.
I'm going to try to work that into conversation somehow this week. It's just great to say.
Just remember, how's that going to sound when you're on the witness stand?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about animals, it's one thing. If you're talking about self-defense, it's a whole different thing. So I'd be careful out there. Before we have to run to a break, let's get line 1. We'll get Tim in here out of Carson City. Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Hey, Tom, great. Thanks so much. And I really enjoy this call. Hi, everybody there, by the way.
Hello.
Greetings.
Hey, the reason I was calling is I was really alarmed by an article that I came across in National Review online where they were discussing the Moms Demand Action, and they're encouraging members to so-called SWAT, people that they see open carrying or, in other words, calling us a SWAT, embellishing a story to the police to get an open carry guy in trouble, to have a SWAT team respond. And I found it, frankly, hard to believe. And then I did some more research on it and learned that there are gamers out there doing these multiplayer games online that are, when they're in the midst of the game, they SWAT their opponent, and you can see video of these SWAT teams showing up, breaking into the house.
They're making a false police report. Let me back up, though, Tim, because I want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about. This is the Moms Demand Action, and they were talking about people who are doing open carry. And they said, well, the thing to do is to leave the area, leave the store, and then call the police and report an armed robbery in progress.
Oh, my gosh.
Therefore, you get the police coming in with their guns. What they're actually doing is saying, I'm going to try to get the open carry people killed. That's what they're really doing. Or maybe even putting the law enforcement officers at risk, which, of course, they would be.
And anybody around, if they miss.
And anybody around.
Obviously.
Now, how is that any different than yelling fire in a crowded theater? Well, it's actually worse, in my opinion.
In this case, it's worse because would it not be making a false charge to the police? A false police report?
Turns out bad. It could be considered murder in my books.
In Ohio, it's both a misdemeanor and felony, depending on how much the damages are.
Hey, Tim, have you ever heard, has anybody actually done this and got police to come in?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know. But they're pretty militant about advocating that. So it would seem like, that might be chargeable offense right there. I don't know.
I would think so. If it wouldn't be chargeable, I think it would be actionable on a civil basis.
Yeah, there you go.
Assuming you could get the information of who called in the report.
Wouldn't that be public information?
And do they have caller ID on 911 calls?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they do. Of course they do.
Well, if it's a police shootings involved, chances of that becoming public knowledge right off the bat are very slim. You know, it's going to have to go through the judicial process and everything first. Jeez.
But it's just, what it does is it gives you, and this is the thing I'd like to go back, Tim, I appreciate you letting us know about it, because it gives us a really good look at how not all, but certainly some of the anti-gunners are willing to commit violence in the name of nonviolence.
Right. When we try to be as ethical and moral as we can be with the duty of carry, they're asking for somebody to be completely unethical in their morals and thinking of calling the SWAT team out.
That's a nice way of saying they're just crazy as hell.
You're so diplomatic, Michelle.
Yeah, cuckoo birds is how we refer to them.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, that is just, it's crazy.
And they're mean and vindictive, and they wish, when they're not kidding when they say, I hope, and they'll say this is the amazing part, they'll say, well, I hope you have an accident and one of your kids gets killed.
All they want is a reactionary, videotapable scenario. That must be all it is.
Something
and they can say,
YouTube,
this is what we've done. But gosh, if they're really concerned about children and safety, how many people are you putting at risk?
All right, here's where I kind of go back. And look, Tim, I appreciate the call. Thank you, sir. Before we run to the break here, let me throw this out, and then we'll hit the break. Would it not be interesting? Because you can join the Mothers Demand Action and get on their mailing list, and then they'll alert you to when they're going to have local meetings. Wouldn't it be fun for us to go to the local meetings and see what they're saying and challenge them when somebody says something goofy like this? Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll explore that. Be right back right here on Gun Talk.
In November, a few races for U.S. Senate could determine whether more anti-gun laws are in our future and whether your rights will be infringed. Will be infringed. Don't risk your rights. The future of gun rights is in your hands. Be a gun voter. #GunVote. For more information, visit gunvote.org. Gunvote.org.
You are one among many, a growing brotherhood, and yes, sisterhood, of those who choose a concealed carry lifestyle. Those who believe the Second Amendment is as vital to our freedom today as it was more than 2 centuries ago. Those who embrace the natural right to protect themselves, their loved ones, even perfect strangers, should danger arise. You are one among many, and we've got your back. Carry Taurus and carry on. TaurusUSA.com.
All right, we're back. I threw the question out when we went to the break of what about joining the Mothers Demand Action group, and then when you get their mailings for local meetings, you show up, not confrontational, but just conversational. What do you guys think?
I don't know if I could personally be in a room with that.
Well, that's because you're one of those crazy whacked out gun guys.
I want to see if the room they rent at the Hilton has a no gun sign on the door.
Yeah.
Conference room.
Well, the thing is, what if it were me, what I would do is I would go in. Obviously, could be carrying concealed anyway. They're not going to know.
Right.
But I just want to have the conversation. I'm not going to identify who I am or where I am with this. But if they start saying, well, this is what we ought to do, that's when you start with the question. You say, well, so you're saying that we should file false police reports. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying is that you want to try to put these people who are obeying the law at risk of being shot, not to mention other people around them. That's the plan?
But if it saves only one life.
Here's what I don't understand. They're so afraid of guns because guns supposedly kill people, right? But you're advocating police come in there with guns to potentially kill, like you said, these people. So what's the difference? Right? It's still killing, right?
But they have a badge. Their life's more valuable.
But the police know what they're doing with guns, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, wait, that's how we started the show today.
What's that miss rate? 70%? Yeah.
Miss rate of 70%, and they're shooting themselves. I'll guarantee you, if you do a search, an internet web search for police officer shoots himself, you will get probably one a week.
Sure.
That shows up.
Sure.
It's crazy. Now, having said that, I mean, I worked with a lot of good police officers, been to the range with them, but the ones who go to the range with me are the ones who are gun people. And Michelle, you've been around gun folks and cops a lot in your life. There are cops who are just cops because that's just the job, and then there are some who are really into guns, and there's a pretty wide gulf between the two, isn't there?
Absolutely. Though, ones that are deliberate and purposeful with their range time are going to be the ones that are far more dependent. And it's unfortunate that they don't have to qualify, as often as maybe civilians would like them to accomplish. But I don't know how you go about changing what their qualification standards are or frequency of qualifications, but it's their determination to be better at their job that's going to make the difference.
Well, nobody wants to pay more taxes.
One time a year is not enough.
That's what it amounts to. I mean, if you want better police, if you want better trained police, you have to go to your city council or whoever it is and say, I want to raise our taxes so that our police can train, not qualify, but train on a quarterly or even a monthly basis. And they won't do that. They're not going to raise the taxes. That's not how they get reelected.
Right. And a lot of them do go out and shoot on a monthly basis. And I don't want to overgeneralize, but that's what we have to do. But, as far as the qualification, owning or going to a public range, when those qualification seasons are, because it is filled with deputies of some sort.
Oh, yeah? Now, are they coming to the range before they have to qualify just to try to tune up?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Well, there's a lot of cops. There's a lot of cops that shoot when they don't have to. They shoot as a sport. They just like it.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also a lot of cops that hate guns and have to carry a gun. They have to qualify, and they begrudgingly practice so they can qualify because they don't want to shoot.
I guess I'm not trying to beat up on cops here. I'm just trying to. We try to make the point that look, it is a mistake on the part of the public to say, well, only the police should have guns here because they are the experts, when we know that some are, and unfortunately most aren't. It's a tool that they wear on their belt, like a lot of other tools they wear on their belt.
Well, so is their squad car, but they're driving that almost every day. They don't drive a squad car once a year. If they're a street cop, right? They may have a partner and switch on and off, but that's a tool that they have to practice with to be competent all the time.
Interesting you say that. It's as Ray Elgin says, when people say, well, if I need a gun, somebody to protect me, I'll call the experts. He said, well, do you drive yourself? Because that's equally dangerous. Shouldn't you have a professional driver? Mm-hmm. And they go, of course, they kind of do the whole
deer in the headlights.
They cock the head over, like, what are you talking about? They're just not getting it.
The RCA Victor dog.
That's it, doing the RCA Victor deal. What was his name? Nipper was the dog's name. There you go.
See? That's a useful piece of trivia.
Little used and totally useless piece of information.
Hey, something possibly more practical than swatting somebody. In the event of something, it doesn't even get to the point of shootout. You call and there's a guy with a gun and he's at the local store and somebody claims he's doing something he isn't. Do you know how many cop car accidents there are at intersections, that kind of stuff, because they're responding to a call?
Responding to it, sure.
Yeah, they could kill some kid walking home from school, hit somebody in another car, take somebody out because of a false phone call. There's got to be some liability, but just humanity says it's wrong.
Well, if nothing else, I think it's worthwhile for people to tell people this is what the rabid, crazy anti-gun factions are doing. Not all of them, but some of them are. And I think if you talk to the average person, they will agree with you. Well, that's just nuts. That's more than mean-spirited. That's just evil. So, I got to share with you. Okay, so my lovely wife and I are going to a live performance here the evening, and we walk in and we look and go, okay, exit there, exit in the back, and exit over there. And so and it's interesting while we're doing this, and I'm thinking, okay, and if this happens, if something goes down there, I want you down on the floor because she's not carrying, and then maybe we get to the exit. It just kind of depends on what's going on. And it was one of those, I wanted to make sure that I brought it over here to talk to everybody about. Do you guys, well, Michael, maybe not you, but if you have a spouse, when you go to places, do you talk about those things, or are you past that to the point where you just got to know now?
Well, I'm going to speak first because I'm a girl.
There you go. Good.
No,
that's right. Ladies first.
It is one of those things that we are my husband and I are very purposeful in placing ourselves at a restaurant in a seat so we can see what's going on in a restaurant. So we, like you, know where the exits are and how to get there first. Awareness.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, we are so aware. And it's in our local area, too. It's not just because we're outside of our box and you're on alert anyways. It's staying on alert all the time.
It could be why I'm single, but I actually have these conversations all the time by myself when I'm at a restaurant.
You have a conversation by yourself. Okay.
No wonder. Yes, that is why. It's the crazy man in the corner talking
about the door, the exits. He's looking at me funny.
And Michael's over going, well, I'm going to go out this door. Well, I'm going to go out this door. No,
hey, you were there. You heard.
That's right. No, you're not. Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Well, I like the 40. That's right. I like the 40. I like the 9mm. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious.
I think you're putting yourself in jeopardy if that's not something that you look at or approach any facility with the mindset of, honestly.
And you make a good point, Michelle, when you said it's not just when you're going out far away. This is when you're in your local area where you have a comfort, where you are. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you're not paying attention.
Isn't it some astronomical number where you're more likely to get in an accident within, the last 5 minutes of your journey back to your house than you are the entire trip? Because you become complacent in your surroundings and you become lax.
It's actually not even that. They say you're more likely to have an accident within 5 miles of your home because the truth of it is that's where you spend about 90% of your time.
Right.
Well, that's why we moved.
Yeah.
We're looking for a new house.
I'm going to go work on that one. I'll be back in about a day and a half.
Yeah, we're looking for a new house 6 miles away.
That's right. That way I'm never that close to home. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Well, you go into a restaurant and if we can't, we'll sit next to each other, which people probably think is kind of love.
Well, I wouldn't sit next to you, but that's a whole different deal.
I guess I should have specified my spouse. And we'll sit next to each other if it gives us both a vantage point of the door. If it's a booth or something where you can't do that, I've had the waitress start to seat us and expect my wife to sit on one side, and she'll sit on the side that makes more sense. And the waitress kind of looks at it like, does it really matter? Like, well,
oh, yeah, we do that all the time. Yeah, we sit, because my wife will say, okay, she knows that I want to be looking at the front door.
Yep.
She just knows.
But paying attention to your spouse's communication at the table or manners at the table, or just being alert to a specific code word if you don't have one. All of those things are extremely important. If all of a sudden you say jelly, or something that you wouldn't any other time, then, that's your code. But I could guarantee I would know something.
Eat breakfast with you.
We used to use the code phrase, check please, but
Right.
Then everybody got up and ran.
Well, that makes
so
a lot of sense, though, because you don't want to tip off somebody.
Right.
If it's a situation like that, you don't want to say, get your gun, or something
right.
like that.
No, you're not making a motion. It's just you
stand
catch
up
something.
and leave.
Right. Or you catch something, like I said, in their movement and their mannerisms, and okay, just nonchalantly something has to change or you have to react to a situation.
Yeah, and I know people saying, well, but I'm in a safe area. Yes, okay, that's fine, and you are, but it doesn't mean that somebody it may be nothing more than somebody who is mentally disturbed, got some mental problems, comes in.
Mike?
Hey.
Yeah, when the show's over, you mean?
Everybody's looking at Mike.
But he said he's talked to himself in the corner.
I said that's why I'm single. I didn't say I have mental problems.
But he answers. That's the problem.
But the thing is, even when he's by himself, he's not really single.
That's true. Party of three, Michael.
I have my friends with me here.
All right, well, so what's the difference here? I'll play devil's advocate, even though we're all on the same team here. You guys are all paranoid. What are you worrying about? How many times do you look at that door and sit where you want to sit and have your vantage point and nothing's happened? You look at all the time you've wasted and nervousness and you guys are just scared.
And, and I just have wasted all that effort of putting on a seatbelt all this time. I've never had a wreck. Same deal. Exactly the same deal.
Why have a fire extinguisher house if you've never had a fire?
Well, and it's not acting paranoid. Like I said, it's just being aware.
Just
you
being aware,
don't have to.
aware.
And if it becomes part of your everyday actions, which for us it is, then nobody even knows the difference.
Right, but I think the anti-gun folks think that our heart rate goes up and our blood pressure rises when we step inside a Denny's.
Yeah,
that's an interesting point. Let me just kind of walk through. When I walk into a Denny's or some other place. You walk in, they seat you. I'm just going to take the chair that faces the door. That's just picking a chair. It's no big deal. I'm going to, when I walk in, glance and go exit, exit, and exit. Okay, got those. That's all. That's all I'm going to be doing. And then after that, I'm just kind of watching the door. It's not like I'm ready to leap up or anything. I have now put myself in a position. But to your point, Jim, it's not paranoid. Heart rate's not up. I'm not scared. That's the one thing. You know what they think? They think we're always afraid. For those of us who carry a gun, we're saying, no, actually, I feel more comfortable knowing that I have an option as opposed to realizing that I don't really have a good option here.
I was in a pawn shop yesterday looking for God knows what. I ended up buying headphones.
Guns.
But, they didn't sell them at this particular shop. But I was in there, and these two, unsavory characters walked in. And instead of finishing my transaction and then leaving, I left. I came back, and I bought what I wanted to buy. But it wasn't because I was afraid. I like to avoid confrontation. I don't want anybody looking at me funny. I mean, I just would rather... you know what I mean, though? I'm not trying to sound like I'm trying to be a hard butt or anything like that, but I just would rather get out of a potential situation where I have to even be involved.
I call it
that's
smart.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, maybe nothing happened.
When you can flee. You don't have to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're invited to a gunfight, you might want to decline the invitation.
Right.
Just a thought.
We were at a gun store 2 weeks ago, my daughter and I, and as we walked in, there were four guys there talking to the counterman. And just something didn't feel comfortable. And I was going to stick around to see is this guy going to get robbed or whatever. And I'm sure nothing happened. But it wasn't that important. We were just sightseeing, walking around anyway, just checking out a store we had never been into. It's like, and she was picked up on it. She's like, those guys were kind of creepy, weren't they, Dad? I said, that's why we're going back to the car.
Well, okay, let me take that one and we'll go back to the topic of gun safety. I was in a gun store a few months ago with a buddy, and I walked around the gun store, and it was the weirdest thing. I just heard him say, Tom, that's all. And I knew exactly what was going on at that moment. And I started moving toward the door as I turned because a customer was pointing a gun at me, because there's one of these customers who just picks up the gun and just points it so he can look down the sights and points it at everybody. But it was very interesting. He just said, Tom, and that's all he said. And it's like, boom, I went, oh, I know exactly what's going on behind my back here. In a gun store, man, I am just knocked out at how many people pick up a gun and swing it around and point it at everybody there.
And the gun store owner didn't go, hey, or anything like that?
There's
some do. The good ones
some do. Well, but the other part is, do you do that and
sacrifice
really
a sale?
you are in the business to make money. If you really jump down the throat of your customers, that's probably not good either.
Yeah, well,
how many times have you been in a gun store? Michelle, you've seen this. You hand somebody a pistol, for example, and the breech is open. There's nothing in it. You've checked with your finger. You know it's empty. You hand it to them. They know it's empty. I still don't want them pointing at anybody. And you'll see they want to see what the sights, what it feels like to extend their arms out. I still can't do that. And it drives me nuts when I see people do it. We all know it's unloaded. You still don't point it at somebody.
I'm always pointing it at the floor.
Yeah.
I'm finding a safe place at the floor to point a gun if I have to point it somewhere.
Well, and you don't have to be obnoxious with this. You don't have to be obnoxious with the situation either. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to jump down their throat. You can just kindly say to the person, we just need to remind you that we don't point firearms at people. Could you please make sure you're pointing in a very specific area? And we've kind of touched on this before of stores having a very specific spot or a target or something hung in an area that is not going to be in the way of others. Yeah.
I think what you ought to do is you ought to put a target on one blade of a ceiling fan. And now people are swinging their guns around in a circle trying to keep up with the blade of the ceiling fan.
Oh, my gosh.
Now we're having fun.
Moving targets.
It's a safe direction, but I'm getting so dizzy, I think I'm going to...
They fall down.
But, and it goes to what you were saying during the regular program, too, about, your ethics and what are you going to do. I think everybody needs to be aware of what's going on around them. Safety in a gun store. Like Jim said, okay, even if the breech is open and it's not loaded, like, sir, please, we really try to avoid pointing that at others. It makes people uncomfortable. It's not a practical thing to do.
And if you're a customer, maybe it could be simply as, sir, could you watch your muzzle?
Exactly.
And if they get ticked off, well, that's it. I'm gone.
Maybe I'm the only one, but if I see a gun pointed at me and it's not in a class, you know what I mean? I'm kind of on the defensive just this exact nanosecond. It's not, I know it's not loaded, I'm in a gun store, they don't know any better. I'm moving out of the way, and chances are my hand is going toward my gun. I may not pull it, but geez.
I guess the only thing I'm saying is sometimes your reaction can cause a knee-jerk reaction to that person.
Yes.
And it gets worse than what it would have been to begin with.
You make them defensive. There's no point in putting people... If they just made an honest mistake, they're unaware, you just say, excuse me, could you watch a muzzle there?
And truly, it's our job to educate them. That's where we need to step back as an educator and be...
constructive.
But see, that's a golden opportunity to bring up gun training classes.
Yeah.
So, we have gun training classes, and if you participate in those, you'll learn that we don't point a gun at anybody at any time. You can actually make an added value bonus sale out of the deal if you handle it right.
Right.
Don't be looking for an opportunity to be a jerk, although for some people it just comes naturally.
Well, and sadly, for some people, that's the only thing that works.
This is beat up on Michael Day, by the way.
I was out last week. You got to make sure we make up for it.
That's it. That'll teach you to miss a day of work.
Both of you were out last week, Michael.
I had car trouble, man. My car almost caught fire.
You need to get rid of that thing.
I love it. No, I love it.
Gosh, it doesn't like you.
How is it you love your car who almost catches fire? What's that about?
Well, okay. I loved it before it caught fire. I like it slightly less that it cost me money, but...
right before she stabbed me, man, she was my best girlfriend I ever had.
See, we're on the same page, though.
I can't press charges.
He's got fatal attraction with his car.
We're on the same page.
Well, the last one attracted tornadoes. That's why he liked this one.
All right, what is it? What is this beast you have?
It is an 89 Ford F-150 XLT Lariat 4.9 straight six.
You sorry you asked?
Shoot, fire.
You just have no idea. Good gravy.
Oh, God. Have we beat this into the ground yet?
No.
No.
Okay,
yes.
Great.
Okay, so what you're saying is you've got this beater truck that strands you on the side of the road, tries to set fire to you, and somehow you still love it. I mean, this sounds like the abused women who go back and says, "But he really loves me."
This truck has not made any promises that it's broken. Okay, so
plus one day
it's never pretended to be a pretty reliable vehicle, so we're not going to be mad at it for not being that.
Plus one day you'll have a tried and true target holder.
That's right.
Yeah, and you don't have any denial about this at all, do you, Michael?
No.
It still loves me.
And I should be the one to put it down.
The next time.
Oh, we're going to have Hey, let's all get together and shoot Michael's truck day.
Yes,
Right.
yes. I got to get some tannerite
Instead of be
together.
a target holder, bring it out.
Yeah, he's got.
You know, we might just have to come up with a 50 cal for that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, look on the bright side. There's a high likelihood. I mean, you're here right now.
Might make me home.
Probably not going to start anyway.
It's not going to get
You
you
don't have to
anywhere.
bring it back. Yeah.
It's only got 65,000 original miles on it. It's sat for 15 years.
Oh, yeah, and that's always good for a vehicle
That's
to have
why
it sit for
everything
15
is new
years.
on it now.
There's just some people are just in love and they don't know, they can't tell when they fall in love with a bad woman or a car here, or a man for that matter. So there you go.
Michael, I think I've got the solution for this.
Yes. Lock and load.
Yep. We're good.
Oh,
We're
man.
good.
All right.
I'll take video for you, Tom.
All right. We want to see the end of the pick 'em up. Tell you what we'll do. This is what we'll do. We're going to ask our podcasters, send us their ideas
Oh, yeah.
of how to do the most creative demise of Michael's truck.
Does it have to involve firearms? It should.
It should.
Is there any way we can ask for donations before we blow this up?
I got a bucket
the
of quarter,
winner gets
man.
to donate
that's cool.
$2,000.
That's cool.
I'm liking this. This is working for us now.
We can
We're
do
going to
it.
videotape this,
I'll get some Gun Talk stenciling on the side of it.
putting Michael's truck down for good. There you
Yeah.
go. Do you have anything in it? I mean, I would get out anything that you really like. If there's anything of value or sentimental,
Your 8-track.
attachment.
My CB radio.
Okay, that one's a little creepy. Okay, you guys got that. All right. All righty.
Okay.
All right, so much for truck talk here.
Okay.
All right, it's time for everybody to go home, except for you, Michael, because you don't have a way home.
No, I'm going to be
Sorry,
sleeping.
man.
I'm going to be sleeping here tonight.
It's sad. So
It's
there you
okay.
go. All right, so are you guys going to do any shooting this week, or are you just going to do
I'm
nothing?
hoping to get out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got an itchy target finger, if that makes any sense.
No, none whatsoever, but that's okay.
Why start now?
That's right.
Why
That's
set
right.
a precedent?
I'm going to be working on. I want to work on dry fire draws this week. I think you need a goal to work on, and so I need to. I haven't done much of it recently, and I like to do that really slow, kind of slow motion. So I'm going to go empty gun and just work on some draws, and just kind of slow movements. Got to groove that. One of the things I find is that with different, and this is something I've run into with different pants, the holster is in slightly different places. Mm-hmm. And one thing I've started doing is when I put the gun on, if it's like, and it's interesting, if it's only an inch or two off, when you reach back for it, it feels different. So what I've started doing is once I put the pistol on in the morning, I do like 5 real slow motion moves just to the grip. The gun doesn't come out of the holster, but just so that I can kind of groove the motion of where's the grip today. It's exactly where I want it to be. And just reach back and put my hand on the grip, and take a firing grip, but don't take the gun out of the holster. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay. That way, if I should have to go pull it, I know where it is, and the hand goes reflexively right to the right place. So anyway, that's my drill for this week is slow motion dry fire draws.
And speaking of holsters, we're on week 3 of my Alien holster.
Yes.
Boy, is it cool. I forget I have it on. It is so comfy. I love it.
Well, good deal. All right.
There's your range report.
There you go. All right, guys. We will wrap this puppy up, and we will do it again next week.
Cool.
Truck
Thanks, Tom.
talk.
Thanks, everybody. Truck talk. That's right. Send your emails, your suggestions of how we're going to off Michael's truck.
I will. Yes, this will be fun.
Channel your inner soprano.
Oh, the other soprano.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Not that soprano.
Oh,
Good
the other one.
That may be more than we needed to know there.
Well, rock on and have a great week.
Bye, guys. Have a safe week, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
Hey, how'd you like the Gun Talk After Show? Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, we stick around after the regular radio broadcast and just have a little fun. You can get it on your computer, or better yet, have you heard about the new Gun Talk app for your Android or iPhone? That makes it real easy. Download it today in the App Store. You can use your iPod too. Join us again right here next week for the Gun Talk After Show with Tom, Jim, Michelle, and Michael. It's always worth it, and it's never boring, I can tell you that. We'll see you next week. We're hanging out at guntalk.com. Meet us there.